beach and having conversation with very interesting people that I would probably never come across in my whole life. And I feel very fortunate to be able to do that. I do 3 a week now, and it just blows my mind how I get to speak and come into contact with some amazing people. My guest today, Diane Woodford, is one of those people. We've actually had a podcast, your podcast last week, and we actually spoke, and we'll dive into that in a minute. But for our listeners watching live, or for those watching on replay on YouTube, wherever they want to get it, just give us an intro, take as long as you want, a little time as you want, explain who you are, anything in between, highs, lows, context, anything you want, and then we just jump into the conversation from there.
Let's go. So I am Diane Woodford, as Collins said. And as you see from my title, I'm a One Love ambassador. What the heck is that? That is someone going around the world spreading love in actions, with actions, right? I was a critical care nurse, one chapter of my life. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a nana. There, so many titles. But what I am is I'm a human being traveling the world, making human connections, bringing the light, receiving the light, and just loving all the way through. Right now, I'm coming live from the Dominican Republic. And as Carlin mentioned, we've talked a couple of times, and I'm digging his vibe. And so that's why you see me here live. And let's go.
Amazing. Thanks, Diane. I was actually looking at your profile just before doing this. It's all unscripted, but I was actually thinking to myself, where is home? Because I think I've spoken to you in different locations, and I'm like, because it said something about Nashville. Is that, I don't know if is that where your base is? Because you said you travel around. What do you consider home for you?
Yep, Nashville was the base. We changed that up, I want to say last year, and we went back to our origin home, which is Michigan. And that is like our placeholder because home is all around the world. And for us, home is where my heart is. Right now, home is in the Dominican Republic, and I'm loving it.
Nice. And this is something. So, I mean, you have your podcast, which you lovingly invited me onto, and we spoke last week. So you and Charles, your husband, you do this podcast together. What blew me away is that you said you've been doing it for 6 years. Like, that's quite amazing. That is something, it's just, most people think, oh no, I'll do it for a year or something like that. But you've been doing it for 6 years. What makes you keep on wanting to do it?
Because it is something that I and my husband Charles were called to do. It is a part of our One Love mission. It is where we literally interact with people all around the world. So we give and receive. It is like this charge for us because it's beyond us, it's bigger than us. I mean, there's been times in the past 6 years where I'm like, yep, I'm done. I did it. I came, I saw, I'm done. I'm ready to drop the mic. And it's so funny because I thought I had the mic, but the mic was placed universally. So when I went to drop the mic, I realized I didn't have the mic. It's like, no, you're not done. Keep going. And I'm like, what? Keep going. It's overwhelming sometimes. I mean, just starting off like what you're doing right now, having a conversation. You get people that want to come, then it's a challenge, to try to, get your guest and things like that. So I had to really get to a point where I just surrendered. And I said, all right, if I don't have the mic, fine, bring the guest. And it was a game changer. That was so pivotal because I was like, okay, bring the guest. And what I saw is once I gave up control of trying to align and bring my guest to the show, love delivered. Started getting guests, phenomenal guests, like even you. Like you said, how would we have ever met? But it's just like in that flow of love, everything aligns and everything that you need shows up in perfect timing.
Yeah, that's. Do you know what? You are one of these people that I I think that you're destined to be put in my path because I'll explain this week and then also last week. These very weird synchronicities. I don't know if you're doing some weird Jedi mind trick on my brain, but so this week I had so I've committed to doing 3 lives a week, and I had 2 guests very close to the time I was supposed to do it, unable to do it for 2 different reasons, and that's never happened before. Like normally everyone shows up for me. It's really good, no problem. And then earlier this week, and I was trying to message these people, and I was like, oh, this is weird. This feels really heavy, and I've never experienced it to the point where I had this moment, and I was like, yeah, something feels off. Should I not be doing this? And it was like, oh, what's going on? And then I even tried to record a solo episode yesterday, try to bring up the 3 lives a week. And then my daughter, the school called to say that my daughter wasn't well. Literally 10 minutes before, I was going to hit the button to just re-record a solo episode, and I'm like, okay, so it's just not destined to be. And then I started to question and think, oh, these things are not like maybe it's dying down now, maybe something. And I was like, oh, but now you've just said that, I was like, yeah, this isn't actually about me. This is about other people. I'm just providing a platform for people. And I don't really, yeah, it's strange that you've said that because I'm now like, because at the beginning of the week I was like, oh, so that's number one. Number two, last week I was really struggling. If I say mentally, yeah, in my mind, I'm an overthinker. I don't know why that happens. I don't know if that's my past or my nature or what that is, but I tend to go down some rabbit holes. Now, I've self-funded this project of mine, and I got some money from a divorce that I went through, and I've put that money, and I said, right, I'm gonna put this to fund and see where it goes. I'm not advertising anything. I'm just enjoying it, seeing if I can live intentionally, enjoy what I'm doing, and and then last week I was really having like a wobble moment. I was like, yeah, money's going out super fast. I can see the bank account just going. And I was like, and there's a lady that's helping me, Victoria Brennan, she's super great. And then on Friday we had your podcast, and you and Charles sat there, and you were just saying, yeah, just like these magic pieces of the puzzle, they just turn up like when money comes. And do you know what? That you weren't explaining anything. I didn't explain my troubles necessarily. It was just like I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. And ever since that, I was like, yeah, I'm cool as anything. Money's going to come. Something's going to happen. I'm not. I need to get my brain out of the way of trying to predict the way it's going to come or have some control over it. Because the way you spoke about it was, yeah, just money turns up. And I was like, last week, I was like, I so needed that. And I didn't tell you, I didn't tell Charles what I was thinking or going through. And you both, and I was like, I went away. I was like, how do they know? And now you've just done it again. So I'm just, what's going on? Can you read my mind? What's going on? You feel energy? What is it for you?
It's the vibe, man. It's the vibe. And what you need comes to you, be it through me and Charles, be it through your baby girl, be it through the principal calling and saying, hey, you need to come. And it pulls you away. And if you don't resist the flow, then it all works out perfectly, right? You can keep your calm. You can continue to move. You can keep your movement because that part is important as well. And it's not a magic trick, it's not like reading mind. Although I will say this, I feel like we are all one. So that's why, in the title it's like One Love Ambassador, because we are all one. Whether or not you want to acknowledge it, feel it, doesn't matter. It doesn't take it away. So we get, I call it downloads. It may be like, call Colin. And I could be cooking. Call Colin. Man, I'm baking a cake. I'll holler at him later, but it'll come so strongly, right? No, call Colin. Fine. So you stop, call Colin. Hey Colin, what's up? How you doing? I was just thinking about you, bud. Thought I'd give you a call. Wow. Wow. How'd you know? Like, man, I just really needed to hear your voice right now. Nothing in particular, just in this space. Thanks, man. So good to talk to you. So good to hear from you. You know what? I think I'm going to go and take a walk or something. And that's how it is. And it just flows like that. It comes through and it comes to. Because really, we are all one. We're all one. So that's how those messages just they come. Yeah.
That's honestly phenomenal, and it's strange because our title of this is about intentional living, and it's very strange because we seem to get caught in this doing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of things, and I don't think that everyone's very happy. They just get caught up in a big to-do list, and so I was wondering, no, I think a lot of people would probably hear those messages, but we're so busy being distracted with anything or everything. And most of those things aren't important. We make them important when they're really not. Those things can wait. There's always going to be another 10 things on the to do list once you've cleared that one item. So, but for you, have you always had that? If I say a gift, I'm not sure if you would see it as a gift, or you just the way that you've designed your life, and we can dig into that because I love your lifestyle. I was telling my girlfriend about it. I was just like, this is so cool, and I was explaining it. And so, did you slow down, or have you always been able to hear these things? And where does that come from for you?
That's a great question, Colin. And the answer would be absolutely not. No, I was not always like this. If I'm being honest, I was actually the opposite of this. I mean, oldest child of three, right? Uh, Control freak to the control freak. I mean, like I used to have boards, color coordinated boards, just planning out days, activities, menus, right? If I was going to have like somebody come to visit, oh, I had every day planned from 9 to 10, we're doing this, and then 12 to, yeah, just really tight control. My former profession, I was a critical care nurse. And so, you have to have rationales, care plans, organization, all of these things, right? What happened is gradually, what I found is the more that I try to control things, the more frustrated I become. And you talk about a rabbit hole, man, I was in a rabbit vortex, okay? Because it's just like down and down and down you go because you're trying to have control. And when you lose control, you're spinning. Overachiever to the max, fixer, enabler, right? All of these things. So, see, I know the other side of the coin. And once you know the other side of the coin, when you flip it, then you feel that goodness even the more. So it's like when I say there's power in a pause, I'm not saying that because it sounds good, it's catchy. I'm saying it because it is true. When I say just slow down to power up, I'm not saying it because, oh, yeah, that's the thing now. I'm saying it because I know that it's true. When you were just talking about the effort intended, my beloved Charles, he's like a Tai Chi master, just he's been doing it. It works for him, it works for us. And one of the things is chi. One of the principles is chi. And so the principle of chi is the more effort, you put into it, the less effective it is. It works on pulling back on the effort and allowing the flow and allowing that to carry you forward. And you go a lot further with minimal effort. So, to answer your question, nah, man, I was not always like this. Um, Being like this has helped me to see both sides. And I can't even imagine the other side, you know. And I'm not going to say that sometimes I don't get pulled, you know, that rabbit hole is always there. So sometimes, you know, the foot go down, but knowing the power of the pause, I can pause. So when I feel like I'm in a rush, or if I feel hurried, or I feel myself kind of getting anxious about something, my initial and immediate response is, hey, hold up, hold up. I just stop. Because if you stop, you can't spin. Pump the brakes and then start back up. And when you start back up, you're not spinning, you recalibrate it, and now you can move forward.
That's there's so much wisdom in that. Was there a trigger for that, for you flipping that coin and going from one thing to another? I know you said, that control and going down that rabbit hole, but was there an event that you went, right, enough, I need to change this, or it was a slow progression and you realized and you wanted to be a different way for your life? How was it for you?
Absolutely. So the trigger came with my children. I have two kids. Well, they're adults now. And there came a part when, my daughter was a teenager, my son was preteen, and they I made the decision to allow them to live with their dad. I made the decision to allow them to live with their dad. And that blew my world up, because when you become a mom, your kids are supposed to be with you until, you graduate from college. Even if there's a divorce, I mean, the kids come with the mom, and they were with me, and then they went to live with their dad, and then my son came back and lived with me again. But from that initial pivot, it blew me out of the water, because mom was like that cherished role, right? And that role where you have control. And it wasn't about being a good or bad mom, but in my mind it was, right? Because when you lose that control, it's like, oh my God, this is not supposed to be happening. This is not how it's supposed to be. This is not my script. And once you just blow up, right, and hit that wall, it's good. You're going to change. You're going to change or get stuck. You're going one way or the other. You're going down so far in that rabbit hole that, yeah, you're just in an alternate reality, or you're going to come up and out stronger. So it was a transformation period for me. And I say it was my metamorphosis. That's when the caterpillar became the butterfly, because even though I didn't know at the time that I needed that experience, but I needed that to happen so that I could be strong and so that I can be who I am today, and I became better. My kids became better for it, because sometimes you appreciate what you have more when you see it from afar.
Mm.
So I believe it gave my kids a greater appreciation of their mom, right? And it gave me a greater appreciation of my kids, because I saw that those things that I planted in them did grow. It just grew in a different garden, but the roots were strong. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of, yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. I've seen that in my own life. And I don't quite know how to sort of phrase it, but like the biggest changes I've ever had is almost when my life has blown up in some way, and I don't mean that physically, but
Mhm.
something's happened, and I've even caused that myself, and oftentimes I've caused that sort of moment by actually not saying something. So I didn't realize that I, I I've always put other people first, and so I'm a people pleaser. So those two things are very nicely sit together, and I I realized that that by not saying something, you are actually just going along with things, and you think, oh, okay, that pleases that person, but it builds like this resentment in you, this quiet feeling inside, uh, and every time I can think of about three different events that have happened in my life, one recently, um, that if I'd have said something earlier, I explained it, it would have had a different outcome. So I never blamed the situation. Uh, and I went through a period often of blaming myself, which I don't think is, well, I know it's not the right thing to do, but these moments are really, there's a lot of deep learning in them that have such an impact. And and it really sort of, I don't know if we say changes who you are, because you're fundamentally you, but you're using a technique that you learned earlier on, and you go, oh, that's no longer serving me, and that can be quite painful to go through for yourself, for the other people around you, etc. But when you look back now, I go, wow, that has such an impact. And I am better for it and other people. And it's strange because in the time, oftentimes I wouldn't make a decision because I thought I was going to hurt those people around me.
Mhm.
But the reality was, I did cause them some pain and some suffering in a way, but they actually are better for it now. You think you're protecting them, but you're not. You think you're
Absolutely.
protecting by not saying something, but actually, if you'd have said something, it might have been an
That
easier
is true.
transition. So, um, yeah, that's, and I love the fact that you also feel this side of you that go, okay, sometimes stuff comes up and you're like, oh, I can feel it. I'm just going to slow it down. And that takes an awareness, right? Just that you,
Absolutely.
okay, because you can run into sort of default behavior and stuff like that. But it's, how long did it take you to sort of transition? Was this like a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years? What was it for you, do you think?
Yeah. So so far it's been about 60 seconds now. In other words, it's constant. It
Okay.
doesn't, it's constant because I'm ever evolving. I'm ever evolving. So you go from caterpillar to butterfly to caterpillar to butterfly. We went to this butterfly garden in Arizona and it was amazing. Had butterflies come and land on us. And, you went through the whole history of the butterfly, of the caterpillar. And the thing that resonated most with me is the caterpillar becomes a butterfly. And then when the butterfly has finished its journey, it goes back into it, just like it recycles. And then it becomes a caterpillar again, and then it becomes a butterfly. So it's like this continuum, right? So even in this journey of mine, there's a continuum because you master one thing to learn something else. You never completely master everything. And when you do, then that transition is from this life. Because as long as we are in this life, there's lessons to be learned. You're here learning, you're here learning things. And so, yeah, I'm still going. There are days, I tell you, Colin, where I'm killing it. I'm like, yeah, mystic mastery, yeah, yeah. And then there are other days where it's like, oh my God, what's going on? I mean, I thought I was further than this. And in both days, I give myself grace. I give myself grace. So even if I drop the ball or even if I don't get it necessarily right, okay, let's go. You know, let's keep going. Not too proud to apologize, when I miss a step. And I will with my husband, with my kids, with my grandkids. I feel open communication, right? I feel open communication, and I feel that awareness and realization of when you may be kind of stepping back or get pulled back, because sometimes it's not even us stepping back. Sometimes you can get pulled back into old thought, right? And when you see that, just stop. Stop. Sometimes you stop ahead, sometimes you stop in the middle, and sometimes you have to recalibrate after, because it's like, whoa, why did I let that conversation go? Or, like you were saying, people pleasing. Hey, same here, right? And I have to literally stop myself, literally, from trying to fix something. I could see somebody getting ready to run into a wall or go right over the cliff, but they are intentional about it, and that's what they want to do, right? And it's like you're looking like you're gonna crash, you're gonna crash, you're gonna crash. And so many times in the past, I will put myself between that person and that event. And what would happen is, now I've sacrificed myself. I've gotten ran over, and they still hit the wall. So at some point, you just like, they're going to hit that wall. That is their choice. Respect. The best thing that I can do is say, hey, do you see that wall? And if they're like, yeah, I see it. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you saw, hey, do you see that cliff right there? You kind of going a little fast there. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. That's sometimes just your part, just to bring awareness to it, not to change it, not to fix it.
Yeah, it's there's so much in what you've said, but there's a couple of things that I absolutely love about it. We seem to live in this world where we want to wake up and we've hacked life and we've got it all solved. And your analogy of the butterfly and caterpillar, we're always evolving. There's no end to the journey, like you said, until maybe we cross over into another life. But we think that, okay, we're going to wake up and we've mastered it all, but there's lessons in every day and how we are. And I love that because and I found that in myself. For a long time, I thought I was sort of not broken, but things weren't quite right. And I just needed to fix this, and then I was good. But the more you fix, you kind of go, but there's other stuff. As long as you don't beat yourself up. And that was kind of my second point, is that you have this really nice way of being kind to yourself, just going, okay. And we also live in a world where we want to try and be perfect, and social media says, oh look, this is for me with my kids, this is me with my husband having the best day ever, all the time. But the reality is, 2 minutes before that, you've had a fight, you've had a row, your kids run off and you can't find them, or a million things could have happened. But we like to post that, and then it makes everyone else try to achieve that perfect life or whatever that is. But the combination of you saying, yeah, it's like a journey, you're learning, every day, like it might work and it doesn't. That's so realistic. And I wish more people received that understanding of life, because it isn't that way. Life is beautiful, even in the moments where you feel it's not. There's a learning or something that you can gain from it. And it's not there to be the hardest lesson in the whole life. There's some sort of teaching behind it. And if you can look at it that way, but also realize that we're human, we're designed to mess things up and not be perfect. There is no perfect. And our opinions change based on our experiences. And if we were just a little bit kinder to ourselves, I think we would be kinder to other people a lot more. But I think there's this internal struggle that we have.
Absolutely.
And I think if we, and because we often say, oh, that's selfish to think about myself, but it's not. It's just that I think if we could even listen to the voices in other people's heads, what they were saying to themselves, it would just be, it would be quite curious to know what it would be. But I think you'd think, oh, how hard are people on themselves? And I think if you could dial that back and just go, okay, yeah, that's cool. But then that last piece, that's about stepping in and getting involved in people's lives because you want to help and please and stuff like that. It's I've had a few conversations with people who generally want to help, and you go, yeah, and they feel like that protector person that
Mm.
wants to
Yeah.
protect, like whoever's in their circle they want to protect. And I think it's that natural instinct. And they go, and I've had conversations with these people and they've said, yeah, look, I need to go and help them do this. And I'm like, no, because um the when you sometimes hit rock bottom, like that's the moment that things turn. That's the lesson. If you try and protect people from that, they don't get it. They won't learn that thing. And we think we're doing something good for them. Like you say, we're often then getting involved in a situation and compromising our own thing, maybe even bringing up resentment for ourselves that we didn't step away or whatever. But they don't learn something. It might look like you've saved them in the short run, but
Hmm.
in the long run, you haven't. So,
Absolutely.
but I get that that's instinctive behavior for so many people, that they want to
Mhm.
help. And I think when you seem very aware of yourself and situations when you can see it because you've experienced, and then you can see it so clearly in other people. You're like, yeah, like, come on, like, careful. But that way that you've done it, and just said, look, you see the cliff. Yeah. Okay. You're doing everything that you can just to say, look, that's something over there, and just letting people go through their life in the way that they need to learn their lessons, right?
Hmm. That's so funny you say that, Colin, because what happens is it's kind of at the intersection of darn if you do, darn if you don't. And I'm sure you get it. If you say something, I don't need you to tell me this, or that. If you don't say something, well, you saw the cliff. Why didn't you tell me? So, my thing is, if I'm darn if I do, and if I'm darn if I don't, then I'm going to be true to myself. And in being true to myself, I'm going to bring awareness to the situation only to the level of acknowledgement. Once you have acknowledgement, then you have the choice, respect, right? My children and my grandchildren taught me that lesson. And it was really my children as adults that really were the biggest catalyst in me not being people pleaser, you know, because as a mom, you want things to go right for your kids. You want to not see them in pain. You want them to not suffer. As parents, we're like, well, I don't want my kids to have to go through the struggles that I went through, not thinking, hey, it's those struggles that made you who you are. It's those struggles that built the muscles. So by you taking all the struggles away, and then they don't have muscles and they can't navigate through the tough times and tough waters, something happens to you, you have not did your kid justice. You did an injustice to your kid because they don't know what to do. Like they out there flailing, right?
Mm.
Because they did not experience the things that life brings to build us up. My mom used to say, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And that is such a true statement. And I remember saying to my son, because, oh, yeah, I was like an enabler. And one time he says, well, that's your job to, make sure I have what I'm supposed to. And I don't know, it's just like something. He was in high school. And it was like something about the way that he said that. I'm like, oh my God, I think I've created a monster. And so, it's like, ooh, I thought I was getting it right, but I think maybe I'm not. And I remember further down in the journey just saying to him, you know, you just need to be hungry. You need to be hungry. I said, because once you are hungry, life is going to make a lot more sense. In other words, it's like you need struggle. You
Mm.
need a little, how do you say, you have somebody and they're on the boat and they're selling and it's just like calm waters, and it's like that's not life. You need some ripples or whatever. And that's a hard thing to say, as a mom, because when you make that declaration, you don't get to control what and how those ripples are going to be, and you don't get to intervene. It's like you have to watch this horror movie happening, and you just like, come on, pull through. And what I can say is this, Colin, my daughter and my son, they are two of my greatest inspirations. They're doing it, like they're doing it in life, and I'm watching them make their own choices, create the life paths that they want to create. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like we're in that part of the movie where things are working out nicely, where things are working out nicely for them. And as a mom, it's a beautiful thing to watch, but it's even more beautiful when you as a parent can say, they're out there doing it in life, and it really pivoted when I got out of their way and let them do it their way. That's when it got beautiful for them.
Yeah, that's that's do you know what? I'm thinking of so many situations where parents, probably even including myself, there, we've got involved in situations, and you go, and I think the proudest moments I've seen. I've got two young girls, so one's turning 8 soon, and the other one's 6. And just when I see them doing something quite autonomous, taking responsibility, and just for themselves, not because I've instructed or I've tried to control a situation, it's just like, oh yeah, like it's such a proud moment for me. And it's just, but I think about all these dynamics of, people getting involved when, like, if they just sort of stepped away and just, and I know it's difficult because it's almost like that's the thing that I want to do. But if they did, like, things flow a lot easier, and it flows because that person that they're trying to control that situation, and it's not always manipulative, because the word control can bring up negative connotations, but um, it's about that person projecting their view of the world and how things are, but actually that person themselves have a different view of the world and need to go through those things, and how they see it and how they want to handle it is for them. And that there's a beauty in that. We've done it for ourselves, or, and again, I'm not saying that bad stuff hasn't happened or isn't still happening, but, it doesn't need to be on the other people. And I think, I, I really like the way that you have that, also that distance, but that pride and that sense of what's going on for your kids. I think that's, that is amazing. So I do want to switch to this money thing, because like, I think it's something really interesting, because I wanted to sort of dig into it a bit, and we talked about it off of the podcast last week. But we have all this, when you look at YouTube, there's every other video can be like how you manifest your life, and it's tied into this thing that you've mentioned about, like, when you try really hard, it doesn't seem to work. But
Mhm.
when you step back, like, amazing things happen. And I found that so much in my life around money. I mean, I've had money, it's kind of gone away. I've gone through periods where I haven't. But the more I try to hold on to something or predict the outcome, it almost accelerates the opposite way of what I actually think that I want. And I don't know if it's the energy I'm putting out there, or I feel that I'm just, the horses, when they're racing, they have these like blinkers. They say they can just see in
Blinders,
front of them.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't see left or right. And when you explained, how you see money and synchronicities, and it isn't about just money appearing out of nowhere. There are instances, and you can talk about those. But it's, and Charles was talking about, it's not, oh yeah, like, that's the price. The price comes down or something changes. But I mean, you can talk about any of that, because I think it might be interesting for people to listen to. It's just, but it's almost, again, this stepping back and just being intentional about what you would like to happen, but without that control, right? It's just this, I'd
Exactly.
like to, and your Dominican Republic is a good story, and you can bring that in. So do you want to just take a moment, just to explain that, or give some sort of context, how it's worked and it's happened for you and Charles? That's
Absolutely.
quite something. Yeah, please.
Absolutely. So money is a frequency. Money is a frequency. And with all frequencies, it aligns with where you're at. So if you're on a frequency of lack, like you're like, oh my God, like you say things like, oh my God, I'm so broke, or this or that, then that's what you're calling to you. That's what you're calling from that frequency. If you're on a frequency of I just get by. You know what? I want to go to work. I want to work. I want to get by. I want to be able to pay my bills. I want to be able to do this, that, that. That's what you're calling to you. If you're on a frequency where it is, I get to create the things that I want, I take out the how and I just let it flow. So I want to be on the highest frequency, not only with money, but just life, love, and just everything. I want to be high frequency. Okay. When you take such importance off of money, it's amazing how your life will flow. If you look at something and say, wow, I would love that, but you know what? I'm sure I can't afford that. Then guess what? You can't, you won't, because that's what you're speaking, right? Here's the thing, it goes beyond just speaking. It goes with the feeling. Like you really have to believe it, right? You really just have to believe it with your entire being. I'm going to give you a story that I haven't said before. So, my granddaughter, who is now 10, she'll be 11 this year. When she was 5, getting ready to turn 6, she would go to the fountain. She's in California, and this is around COVID time. And every time she would throw in a penny to make a wish, her wish was, I want to see my Nana and Papa, because we were in South Carolina, they were in Southern California. That was her wish. Every time she come to a fountain, hey, I need to make my wish. My daughter-in-law and family there, they stopped asking her what the wish is because they knew what the wish was, right? I want to see my Nana and Papa. Now, what you have to understand here is Charles had just come out of the hospital for 80 days out of ICU. We're like on the other side of that. So as far as circumstances, look, really probably not going to happen. But this little 5-year-old girl, she believed, because her parents, my son, my daughter-in-law, myself including Charles, we always said, whatever you want, just believe that you can have whatever you want. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Okay. So here we go. So we're out, Charles out of the hospital. She's steady doing this. In the 1st of August, a friend of ours gave to Charles for his birthday and me a flight. Said, I'm going to fly you out to California to see your grandkids. We had never even had this discussion with the friend. You let me know when you want to go. It just came. That came. This little girl believed, okay? And she was just like, nothing could take her away from that. They were like, they might not come now. She did not listen to that. She just believed, okay? And then with us, when I heard it, I was like, yes, it's possible. And honestly, I'm like, I don't know, if it'll be by that birthday, but it is possible. And I did believe it was possible. Friend gave us this trip out to California on her 6th birthday. We were there with her. And she said, Nana, I knew you were coming. I believed that you were going to come. I knew you were coming. It had nothing to do with us putting money into it or anything, because, ticket prices and things like that. And probably for us, where we were aligned, probably not a good time financially if we look at the bank record. And that's my thing. That's my point. Don't look at the bottom line. Don't look at the number. My mom says, if you can count it, it's not enough. And it's true. Every single thing along this journey has just been provided. How do you explain to people that are retired from their career, that are not lottery winners, okay, and don't have like this bank account where you can look at it where like you balling out of control when you look at the figures, but when you look at the life and the figures don't align, and they don't align in a high frequency, not a low frequency. So when I say the frequency that you align yourself with is what you get, I'm not talking mystic, magic, puff puff, you know, if you if you say it, you get it, you speak it. No, it's deeper than that. It's an alignment. And what you align yourself with, what you create space for, you get it. It happens. It happens. And I think, Colin, when you take the how out of it, then that is when things really start to flow. When we're talking about that chi thing,
Mm.
when you take the how out of it, then you're taking that effort, because the richest person in the world could not live the beautiful life that I live, because one, it's my life, it's our life. And two, so many people, they have the money, you go for the money, you go for the money, but then you don't have the time. But then you don't have the time. I've seen so many people with so much money that they don't even know what to do with it, but they're not even enjoying life. They're steady counting the money. They're steady, just they're so busy being busy that they forget to live. That they forget
Yeah.
to live.
It's it's such a strange paradox the way that we see money, right? It's just we always think we've got to have it to do all of these things, and you know the the example of you saying that you were going to the Dominican Republic. It's I'm wondering again, is this linked to your intuition? Because you said you and Charles were talking about going to. I think you mentioned about three different places. I think you said London, Paris, or something. I can't remember, or somewhere. And then
London, UK, and Morocco.
yeah, and then you went, and then you looked at a map and went, yeah, Dominican Republic, right? And then it was just like, okay, that kind of happened, and it just popped out. But what was that popping out? What like you felt something, you heard something, or it was just like, yeah? How does that happen for you?
So it's downloads. We hadn't even looked at a map or anything. So what you're talking is like the puzzle pieces. That
Mm,
is how we live our lives, right? There's all these pieces to the puzzle. So the puzzle pieces, we come with our pieces, but then we allow for divine intervention. We allow for the flow. We allow for things to happen. Some people call it the magic, the spirit, the divine, you know, that's another thing. I think we get so caught up in trying to name things, right? So caught
mhm.
up in trying to put things in little boxes that you miss it, right? So we had places that we were looking at and we were interested in going for, just various reasons, travel restrictions, and just being able to go into certain areas. We had time that we couldn't get in there yet from our perspective, right? And then the Dominican Republic just dropped, and I said, Charles, I just began to think about Dominican Republic. And Charles was like, huh, yeah, that's interesting. We had planned to go or come here like two other times, but situations just redirected. Our route got recalibrated, and so it downloaded, and we put it on the board, and it just spotlighted. It was like, this is where you're supposed to go. We literally booked our trip 4 days before we traveled. We literally found a place to stay that for 28 days that perfectly aligned with everything that we wanted, as far as in a place, as far as in security, as far as in location, every single thing aligned. And then here's the thing, what Charles was saying about the price. I don't worry about a price for anything. And I know somebody's listening and they're like, fiddle faddle. Nah, not fiddle faddle, for real. The price meet me or the resources meet the price, period. And that's how I look at it. If it's something that I want, I'm not going to settle because this is the price bracket. I don't put myself in a bracket. I put myself in a space, and then I trust that the very best for me in that space will come. And if that doesn't come, then I'm going to be eased into another space where that very best can come for me. And I'm going to trust it, even if I don't understand it. And what I need to say at this point is this: it's not always easy. So if you're listening to me and it's like, oh, whoa, how do you live? So, no, sometimes it's not all that calm. I mean, when you think about it, I'm a human being. So 4 days before we're going to take it, like, well, really a week before the plans, people are saying, well, where are you going to next? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. And people think we're blowing smoke. Like, what do you mean you don't know? We'll see. That doesn't even make. And I even had people say, well, if you don't want to say so, then just say that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know. And because they can't comprehend that that can be something that's true, they think that you're trying to, just hide it from them or whatever. And it's not the case. Not the case at all. We simply did not know until 4 days before where we were going. Living in that space keeps you in the now. And when you live in the now, then you're not going to be so worried about what it is that you don't have. You're going to focus on what you do have.
I think we've got cut off, Diane. Okay. Diane, I don't know if you can hear me. We'll give you maybe a few seconds to reconnect. I'm not sure what's going on. So while we maybe wait for Diane's Wi-Fi or computer to kick back in, just a couple of messages that's going on the side. So Randall, Randy, one of my favorite guests, makes me smile every time I just say your name. Jackie, thank you very much for your support and comments. So don't always bring them out on show because I'm sort of so invested in the conversation sometimes. But thank you so much. Looks like Diane's dropped off, but we'll just give her another few seconds. So thank you. I really appreciate your support, Randy, Jackie. And yeah, I think for me, around the trust is such a big thing. So let me just bring up some of these comments. So morning. So Randy, thank you. Yeah, love flows when we trust and let go. Yeah, it's for me, it's one of those strange things that we try to control too much, but we do need to let go. So yeah, absolutely agree, Randall. Jackie, thanks. Yeah. So you're friends. So that's amazing. I'm sure you have a lot of light in your life, Jackie, because Diane is one of your friends. Okay. That's great. Thank you. Let's have a look at any more messages. So Randy, and we trust God raises up, friends for us. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Open heart and mind and following those nudges. Yeah, and I think that's something I wanted to get on. I don't know if Diane will be able to join us back, but I think sometimes we get so busy that we miss those messages. Right. So it looks like Diane is back. Diane, are you dropped
Hey,
off there?
hey, I'm in the Dominican Republic. It's raining here and everything went out and I love it. I bust out laughing. I said, I love it. This is what I'm talking about. And you know how like you were saying earlier, how things happen. This is life confirming what I'm saying. Not freaking out, not spinning. There was never an, oh my God, what happened in the middle of the podcast? I just bust out laughing. I
Amazing.
felt it was hilarious.
Do you know what? It's really strange you say that because I think back to the corporate days that I used to work. If something wasn't right, especially with tech, I always used to think, "Oh, all the eyes are on me, everything's going wrong," and then I would get so consumed about what I look like or how I was coming across or whatever. And then we lost you. You froze for a second, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what I can do here." Just calm as anything. And I was just like, and I thought this is an amazing opportunity. So we've got Jackie Scully and Randy McNeely adding in comments, and I thought, right, that's a perfect segue for me to go and acknowledge their comments. So yeah, and then just gave you a little time to go in, and I assume dial in from your phone. That's it's
And
just amazing.
the lights went out again, so and it's so funny because I was getting ready to try to do it again on my computer and I just felt the nudge. It's like, nah, do it on your phone because you'll finish it on your phone. And I was just looking, I was like, well, the computer kind of came back on, lights kind of came back on, but the lights are flickering. And that is just being in that now space, because here, in the rainstorms and things, lights, they sometimes go out. It does it in the States too, but it's kind of different here. But I love it. I love it because I feel like it's a confirmation of what we're talking about. And it's an opportunity. It's an
Mm.
opportunity to show that peace because I guess if I'd have came back on like, oh my God, Colin, and just been like all over the wall, I think it would have invalidated a lot of what was said before. Because
Yeah.
it's like this is your test. This is your test. This is your opportunity to walk your talk.
Yeah. So where you actually frozen, you went off. You were talking about yeah, the you having people around you asking you questions about where you're going, and you said I don't know, and it's and you've also mentioned about we also want to try and put stuff in boxes and reason with it, and I have a very logical brain, and I think sometimes this is where I get stuck in not being able to let go and just because I kind of want to rationalize things and some things just can't be rationalized. Maybe after the fact you can see how the dots connect or something like that. But it's it's even harder when you have people around you that care for you, but they're also projecting their, well, okay, well, how's that going to happen? And looking for answers. And it's, you kind of got to push that away. And then with that push, it feels a bit like, oh, this is not easy. People want to know something. And it, like you say, it's not, you know, I don't even want to call it magic. I don't want to say what it is or isn't. It's just, you've got to just allow for that. And that makes other people feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And then they project that
Yep.
uncomfortableness and they want answers. And it's, yeah, I've seen that a couple of times in my recent life, and I'm like, people sort of want to know what your plan is or what you're doing, and it's not because they're caring about you. It just makes them feel uncomfortable that you don't know, and I've had to give answers before. I go, I just don't know, and it feels as I think maybe adults, we're all supposed to have a plan. We're all supposed to know exactly what it is, and I think that either gives us comfort or it gives other people comfort. But actually, that you said it. There's this amazing part of not knowing, just going, yeah, okay, just, and that really brings you into the present because I spent most of my life living in the future and and I had all these plans, but I kind of lived and I always thought, oh, when I have this, then I'll feel this. And then I went through divorce and it basically there was plans for things in the future, and then I really got to the point where I was like, well, no, actually, all the plans were in my head and how things would be, and I go, I have no control over that. That life gets in the way, and I was like, okay. And so I don't think about the future. And that freaks some people out because they want answers, they want things. And I go, no, you know what?
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna think about today, maybe think about next week. I know I'm traveling to the UK next weekend. And I'm going, okay, yeah, I need to maybe get some things prepared for that. But beyond that, I don't know. There's a lot of value in me planning too much. So but I feel
Absolutely.
good about that. And the fact is, you go, okay, well, what am I doing? And you go, well, okay, I've got my kids here. I'll just play with the kids, or like. And I'm not saying I'm neglecting anything. You still have to do your day-to-day stuff, but you go, yeah, you know what? And then what happens in my mind? It just sort of it relaxes and opens up, and I go, well, yeah, we could do this then. And you go, oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I realise life can be so easy. We just make it a lot harder than it needs to be.
Perfect. That is a mouthful right there, Colin. We make it a lot harder than what it needs to be, right? When you're talking about past, future, present, something came up this week. I saw it. It said, the past, when I think about the past brings fear. The future brings anxiety, and the present bring peace. So, I mean, it's simple. Do you want to live in fear? Do you want to live in anxiety, or do you want to live in peace? And that's the reality. That's a great way to choose a reality, right? I want to throw this in. I know we've had a fun time. I told you I was like an hour with you and me. We can knock it out the box easy. Um, but I want to hit 2 points. Number one, when we understand that people can only receive and understand us from their level of understanding, right? Not yours, but theirs. You stop explaining, and it gives you cause to live more unapologetically, right? Because you live in your truth. So when people ask me now, so what's next and what are you doing? I say, well, you know what? Today is a great day. And today, right now, I think I'm gonna get something to eat and I'm gonna do this. And that's where I stay. I don't entertain the question. I redirect the question because I'm not gonna answer that question. I know, but where are you going and where are we'll see. And that's the standard answer. Or sometimes Charles and I say we're going in the right direction. That's where we're going. We flowing, just whatever, because you don't have to answer the question. You don't have to be mean, but you don't have to answer the question. We never have to answer any question. I think I'll choose to not answer that. But how you doing today? Or thank you for the question. Appreciate that. But yeah, let's move on. Just right, just like right in grace. So that's one thing. And another thing I wanted to bring up is, so between the time that we talked last Friday and today, Friday, which has been a week, I received news that a very dear friend of mine transitioned from this life. And it was pretty sudden. So it was not like, oh, long illness, at least not known, right? Or anything like that. And it was really a hard pill to swallow. It really hit. And I'm still recalibrating. I'm still processing. I'm at the point right now where I'm choosing joy and gratitude. Doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt. It doesn't mean I still kind of like cry. Not trying to figure it out or ask like why or how, because it is. This is where we're at. This is the reality that we're in right now. And so I have a choice. And that choice is just to honor the time that we had and honor the goodness of her life, and just remember her as a person that lived her life fully, unapologetically, her way, with no, she didn't leave room. We did a podcast together on my podcast, and at the end of the podcast she said, and this was about 4 years ago we did the podcast, and she says, when I get back to source, when I get back to the creator, I want to say I used it all. I used everything you gave me. I had nothing left. And that's how I want to live my life. I want to use it all. I don't want to waste any of it. I want to use it all. I
That's
don't want to have
amazing.
anything left. I want to use it all. Yeah.
I think that's I want to say one last thing that kind of ties into that, and then I'm conscious of time, but um something that I got from both you and Charles was that you have this childlike quality. And I mean that in the biggest compliment I can. That doesn't mean that you're children and that you take no responsibility. It was just this: children live in the moment. They go, well, yeah, I'm going to play with this stick. I'm just going to go and do this. And it's so much joy to watch a child be entertained by a balloon or a stick or just themselves or something. And I really got that from last week, because I think we spoke longer off of the podcast than we actually did on the podcast. But I was
Yeah.
just like, and you both had this lovely way about you. It was just like, yeah, do you want a cup of tea or coffee? Yeah, I'll go and get that. Yeah, we're probably going to go out for a walk and stuff like that. And I was like, man, it just feels that you are so in the moment. And I think oftentimes, we put a lot of pressure to try and be in the moment, and we try to almost pretend that we're in the moment. But I generally got this feeling that you both just go, yeah, like, it's a good day, it's sunshiny, we'll go for a walk. Oh, I think you were going to go and get some local food or something like that. And you said, oh yeah, we've met some people. And I was like, those things only happen because you just allow it to be, and just this, yeah, I'm just going to see what happens. And that might seem strange, because when you people read the title of this conversation, it's about intentional living. Almost feels like, oh, it's planned, it has to be this way. But it's the exact opposite. It's just, my intention is just to, okay, we're going to go here. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know who I am. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to listen to these downloads, these messages and everything. And you constantly smile. You both seem so joyous and happy. You're in a place where there's sunshine, and you go, I would imagine there's so many people in this world would love to do the things that you're doing, and they could do it, but they just need to slow that down, be a bit more intentional. And I think there's so much wisdom in your words and how you see things, etc. And just, I think you're such an amazing person, you and Charles. So maybe I'll get Charles on here and we do one directly with him. But I love it because there's this freedom and just, not carefree, stuff happens, but it's beautiful. And it really is. When I left that conversation the other day, I was like, yeah, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's the thing. I mean, that's my favorite person. One of my favorite people, I should say, Maya Angelou. And then again, intentional living. I always wanted to meet her, and we did. We met her before she died in 2009, so 2009. We were able to see her in Pasadena, California. But her quote, it just goes along with what you're saying, and it is, people will not remember what you said, right? People may not even remember what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel. So when you asked me what title did I want to put under, because I didn't put a title initially, and I was just like, One Love Ambassador, because that is the thing. If when we leave any situation, it's love, it's light, even if the desire to just do something is left in that space, then we were successful.
Amazing. I think that is the perfect sentence to end this on. I think it's been a real pleasure. There was never any doubt it was going to be anything but a pleasure nonetheless. It was just amazing. Thank you so much for for being you. And I think yeah, just sharing that in such a, sometimes when people have got it all figured out, they come and, they often sort of want to sort of explain and say, you've got to do this, but you have such this beautiful way to just go, look, this is the way, these are the things that happen. It's so easy to listen to you, and it's with such caring and this such a human side, and I think it really is amazing. So for today, thank you very much. If anyone wants to find you, or I don't know, are you even looking for guests on your podcast? I guess if you've been doing it 6 years, you've maybe got a load of people lined up. How's it work?
Always, always, I mean, just blow on in, right? Um, I always just invite people to listen to it. And then if it resonates and you have something you want to share, absolutely, reach out. You can reach us. We have a website, and that website is PATHS, PATHS, the number two, word transformation, TRANSFORMATION.com. And I'm sure Colin will put that link in the bio. I'll make sure he has it. You go to the website and you get it all. You get it all. I'll just leave with this. It's like, don't talk about it, be about it. Let people know who you are by your vibe and by your life without saying a word. Let people feel what you're about. Yeah.
Amazing, fantastic, Diane. Go and have an amazing day. Even go out in the rain. I think sometimes we stay in when it's raining, but to go and enjoy those raindrops on the.
Sure.
Yeah. But for today, thank you so much. I will link that that link in the description, and I'll mention you so people can follow you. But for today, absolutely brilliant. Give my love to Charles as well.
We'll do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Diane.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.